Dallas, you're in Mannheim, Germany right now. How is the summer going? You're full tilt right now, as I understand.
Yeah, well, hey, number one, thanks for having me, guys. Yes, I'm in Mannheim, Germany. I decided to come back here as the general manager and coach. Um, yeah, it's the dog days of summer back in Ontario and around the NHL, but we are full into halfway through the first week of training camp.
I think there's so many unique aspects, I'm sure, of coaching and just being around, overseas. What do you like so much about that experience?
Well, there's a number of things. There's not much I haven't done on the NHL side in North America. The one thing that I really wanted to do was get some experience on the general manager side. It gives me the opportunity here to take a team that has, kind of gone awry, a team that needs to be rebuilt a little bit culturally to get back to their championship ways. So building something and being in charge of that was definitely exciting. The second thing is my alignment with ownership here. Actually, going back, my first contact with this team was when I was a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Daniel Hopp, the owner here, is as good as they come. Like, this is a guy that I could easily own an NHL team one day. His passion for the game and his passion for people are unmatched. So that was a big reason here. And thirdly, and not to be too long-winded, I've never coached international hockey. And to come over on the bigger rink, a little bit different style of play, certainly interests me from the coaching side. So I'm able to check off a lot of boxes on things that I haven't done, and it's certainly inspiring for me.
So as you say, there's some differences in international hockey. You've got a year under your belt, but what are some of those differences? You're going to coach a group of players. It's hockey, but what are some of the big differences with going over the pond?
Well, first, the workload. It's we play way less games. In North America, like you break. Well, actually, before we get to that, training camp. In the NHL, you practice twice, maybe three times, and you're into an exhibition game. Like, we have basically 5.5 weeks of training camp here, where we can really let our players get their feet underneath them. The second part is during the season. Our regular season is 56 games, and there's lots of practice time. There's lots of time for recovery. There's lots of time for development. And then on top of that, like, the league absolutely shuts down for, international play, for national team break. So, like, we have like basically a 9-day break in November. We have another 9 or 10-day break in February. So all of that is different, the way you set up your practices, your scheduling, your recovery. And then lastly, just the big ice alone. Like, you're able to do things differently on the ice and be a little bit more creative using that space, whether it's on breakouts or entries, especially ozone play. So it just lets you think about the game a little bit differently. Instead of going into every year, basically, you tweak things a little bit in the NHL, but it doesn't really change that much.
As a hockey fan, it's been one of my bucket list things to check out a game in Europe. Can you describe the atmosphere for games there?
I do not want to be disrespectful to the NHL. There are some amazing buildings there. Even in the American Hockey League, there are some amazing buildings. But what I experienced, I came in midway through the season last year, and what I experienced here really caught me off guard. Like, I will put our building up here in Mannheim against any building in the NHL, and it is a more of a soccer experience. The fans are packed in. A 7:30 game, they're lining up outside at 4 o'clock. The building is sold out every night, and they never stop singing. It never ends, and it is loud. It is incredible how the fans organize themselves with their different colors and signs and schemes that they have going up, and it's all on their own. It's an incredible experience to come to. I got to experience it. Obviously, my family has come in, and they're just simply amazed by it.
I can imagine. Obviously, things are going well over there, and your priorities are there. Do you think that if things change down the road, you come back to North America, you could take some of those principles that you've learned from coaching and being involved in that atmosphere and bring them back to perhaps the NHL at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe more importantly on the managing side, like, having to build a team and dealing with agents and looking down the road and recruiting and getting the right young people signed, having a development program. The other thing we have here that our owner Daniel Hopp has is we have like a U20 team, U17, U fit, like we go right down the road. And this is where Leon Draisaitl came through. This is where Mo Seider came through. This is where Stützle came through. And so it's not just the pro team that I've got my hands in and obviously shaping. There's part of my responsibility is that too. So there's a whole lot of things here that, selfishly set me up for down the road. And I'm just a big believer in all of my experiences going through this, crazy life that we all get to experience is that you're never sure what the next opportunity is going to be. You're never sure what your next passion is going to be. And I think being here is just such a great opportunity. And number one, provided because the ownership, Daniel Hopp, I can't tell you enough. Like, this is how ownership should be. And he is all in on doing whatever it takes to rebuild our organization.
I'm happy you brought up the management aspect because that's been the fascinating thing for me in the NHL world, at least, is the turnover coaching wise. Like, I honestly wonder sometimes why people want to coach in this league, and maybe it's a better route, the Barry Trotz route now after he coached, to be a GM. Is that the way you think things will trend? And in general, what do you make of the coaching carousel in this league in this day and age?
Well, hey, it's going to sound biased because I've been a coach. And I'm going to be quite honest. I think it's ridiculous. Like, I just think it's ridiculous. And I think Barry Trotz is going to be one hell of a GM. And because all you have to do is take the title, right? The title is general manager. And, Barry Trotz has been managing people, staff for a very long time. And I think he's going to do a great, great job. The thing I'm not going to complain about is the turnover. Even though I think it's ridiculous, we all know what the deal is. My greatest mentor, he was like my second father, was Roger Nielsen. I think Raj was fired 7 or 8 times in the NHL. It's just part of the deal. But I just, it's troublesome to me that when a team struggles, it's first, gong the coach and then work from there. And I just think there should be a bigger level of patience moving forward. But hey, that NHL, that is set up to, hey, you're there to win. And if you don't win, you understand it going in that your head is first on the block every time. It is part of the deal. But the thing that does encourage me, and I think it drives fans crazy sometimes, is guys that are in the league, they turn over, they go to another organization. And the thing that really warmed my heart is my great friend, the guy that gave me my first chance as a coach, is Paul Maurice. And obviously, I'm close with Paul. I followed his career. When he went into Florida, and anybody can do this, I want you to go look at what was written about him and what was tweeted about him and said about him when he was hired there. It is so much fun to read now, to go back and to have a look at how he was viewed. and how he is viewed now, like that man is one hell of a coach. He's an amazing communicator. And you know what? He's been moved around from here to there, but I think that's the only thing that is encouraging is that even though you get moved on as a coach, there are other opportunities waiting for you if you can find the right one for you.
Well, speaking of new coaches, I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs have got Craig Berube. He's at the helm now. His first year is going to start. That team's had problems getting it done in the playoffs. They've got a lot of talent and a lot of scoring power up front, although they run into problems scoring in the playoffs when it matters. And to me, that's a mental block. All these contracts they're moving around and unable to move around, they are what they are, and they're in place, and they're going to have the team that they have this year. How much do you think Craig Berube can come in and maybe jumpstart, change, alter the mentality of those players to try to have success this season?
Yeah, well, I'll back it up even a step further. Like, like Brad Treliving is a very passionate, smart general manager. And having him come in with a different way to play, you can see already a difference in the players they're acquiring. Like, that's the first step of getting a new mentality on how to play. And I know you have to have success in the regular season just to get to the playoffs, but then you have to have a certain kind of team to win in the playoffs. So I think that step there was an important one. And now with Chief coming in, like I just thought that was a great hire. Like, that is a Stanley Cup winning coach. There's no BS. There's no tiptoeing around any issues with Chief. He hits them head on. The other thing that I love that Chief and Brad did there, and I think there should be more of this in the NHL, I've been fairly vocal about this, is I think the more leadership you have on the bench, the better. And hiring Lane Lambert, who's been a head coach in the league, I think that is one hell of a hire. I just think it's an incredible hire because of the leadership there. So I think Sheldon Keefe did a hell of a job. I think he did everything he could. But I do think that, Chief coming in there will give the team, a different way of doing things, a different voice on how to encourage them and inspire them to do things. And, Chief's already taken a team all the way down the road to win a Stanley Cup, and he certainly knows what it takes to get there. I just think they've really hit it out of the park here with the manager, with Chief, and Lane Lambert coming in. And that's no disrespect to any of the other coaches. I just love that they've got two guys on their bench that have been head coaches in the league.
Naturally, a lot of the conversation in this market is about the players and the core players and the guys making a lot of money. And then you bring in a guy like Craig Berube and, his relationships, how things are going to work with some of the players. And ultimately it gets, it's down the pathway of like, is it going to work out? Are these guys the same player? Are they going to be the same player? Not to put you on the spot, Dallas, but do you have examples of working with players throughout your coaching career where they started at a certain place and you got them to that next level, or anybody that comes to mind when you think about that?
Well, here's the thing, like, rather than like single out guys, like I think, hey, like you need leadership at the top. Right? You've got to have a good manager. You've got to have a good coach. You've got to have a good staff. You need great trainers, strength guys. Like, you need everybody pulling in the same direction. But when I talk to coaches that have won, and it doesn't matter if it's like 2 summers ago, I was in with Nick Saban for 5 days, or I've been into other sports, or I talked to Paul Maurice. Like, when the players take true ownership. And when I mean ownership, that doesn't mean about, well, I took ownership of bad play. When they take full ownership of that dressing room and they're the ones driving the bus, that's when you can really do some special things. And I think that's what happened in St. Louis with Chiefs team. I thought he was a great leader, but then the team took ownership. I think that happened in Boston a number of years ago. Like, that Boston culture inspires me, that what like Chara and Bergeron built, and now it kind of continues on. And I just think that's the next step. I won't lie. Like, hey, I worked for the Toronto Maple Leafs for 8 years. I keep a close eye on that. Like, we still have a place in downtown Toronto. To a certain degree, I am still a fan of that organization. I feel a part of it because that's where I started. And so I do keep a close eye on their team. The thing that I struggle with for the players is the media attention there is so intense and so competitive. Like the media is competitive with each other. And once those playoffs start turning around, man, it immediately goes to what the Leafs haven't done in the past. And that kind of messaging coming in on the players, I do think it's a real skill to box that out. The other thing you said it, you didn't say the core four or whatever the hell they call those guys. You said the core. That drives me bananas. It drives me crazy because it quietly separates the team. And I get it. Hey, your best players got to be your best players. But it just makes me cringe when I hear that. So I remember Brad Treliving saying early about, hey, we're not calling them that anymore. He doesn't want to refer to that. I think Chief is going to treat every one of those guys as an individual in a team environment. But I am encouraged and I am excited to see how this goes for that group, because I do think they're poised with the new additions, that they're better set up to win in the playoffs. And I know I'm on a long rant here, but I got to finish with one thing. Paul Maurice said a really interesting thing. He goes, yeah, my first year I came in and I took the team from 106 points to whatever it was, 88 points or something. And the thing that's important is, yeah, you got to make the playoffs, but where you're judged is how you do in the playoffs. So I'm really excited to see how the Leafs will fare once they make the playoffs.
Agreed. And say you have, Dallas, in your experience, you have a direction that you want this team to go to and a finish line that you want them to become as a group. Do you approach it as, like you say, there's not the core four, you're not singling guys out. You put out your ethos and this is who we want to become, and you put it out there on a platter for everyone to jump on board? Or do you go a little bit more managerial side and, deal with players individually, and this guy needs a kick in the ass, this guy needs me to pull back on the reins, and do you kind of nitpick like that? Or is it kind of a combination of everything?
Yeah, hey, I'm not going to tell Chief what to do. He's got way more Stanley Cups than I do. And I'm certainly not going to try to tell Brad Treliving what to do. He's got a hell of a lot more experience than I do. But what I like to do with my team, I've already done it here, is coming out of last year on those year-end meetings. I asked a lot of question on like who do you think we are, and who do you think we should be? Like what do we want to be known for? And then coming out of that, it's not that I walk in and go, hey, here's what we're going to be. Like, I think that's a really selfish thing to do as a coach. That's not my locker room. That's their locker room. And they're the ones that are going to go in there, do their skates up, and go out to battle every night. So I think it's really important, at least from my side, to listen and to really feel and hear what the players want to be known for and who they are. And with that, we go into basically our standards that everyone is going to be held accountable to. And I don't care if you're the best player or if you're our forward or our D-man that's out every night. It's like, these are the standards that we're going to be known for. And then after that, for me with our team here, is like, all of these guys are different. And so when it comes to individuals and what the messaging and how we try to inspire them, reason with them, talk to them, discipline them, it is all different. But when it comes to the standards of the team, it's something that the players have outlined, they've asked for, they're inspired to be, and that's how we roll with it.
How much would the lack of depth up front concern you if you were Craig Berube?
I don't think it probably concerns Chief at all. Like, I think if you look at any team in the NHL, I think every team has great strengths, and every team has weaknesses. I think the challenge on any given night, and man, it is a tough one through 82 games, is to fully play to your strengths, find a way to hide your weaknesses, and on the same same plane of thinking is how can you exploit the other team that you're playing weaknesses and try to kill their strengths. So, if you want to talk about the Leafs have just some elite players, and that's hard to come by. It's hard to come by in the league, and I do think the depth of the organization up front on D is improving.
Obviously, this market we've talked about, difficult to play under. They've had their successes in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs. Would you be all right? And would you kind of almost want the market to understand that if Craig Berube comes in, kind of changes the mentality and maybe the identity to a degree of this team, if they take a step back in the regular season while they're trying to get all their ducks in a row, would that be all right with you? You mentioned it with Paul Maurice. It happened with him in Florida. To maybe take a step back regular season wise, if that means that they're more prepared for the playoffs?
You know what, Rosie? I love the idea. You've got a great, wonderful idea there. I know the passion of that Toronto market. That is not happening there. It's going to be every night. It's either win or bust. It's either parade or doom. It's like, that's just how that market is. And this is why I love Chief there, is like Chief is not going to give a crap about what anybody is thinking. And that is not disrespectful to the fans. It's not disrespectful to people that follow this team and pay huge dollars to buy merchandise, go to games, all of those things. It's not disrespectful, but it is necessary. And it's also necessary for the players to get a really callous brain, always respect the fans, always respect the media, but understand that nothing matters other than that group in that locker room. That's it. And it's easy to say. You understand it because you've been in those dressing rooms. It's easier said than done, but it takes a real skill, to not give an F about what anybody thinks and just to stick with it. And you can see right through the league, right through all sports, the players that you can see are affected by the outside noise. And then you also see players who they're just never affected by it. And that is the challenge of Toronto. And it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. That's the circumstance there. And in any circumstance, teams, players have to make a choice. And they have to make that choice to, hey, stick with whatever they believe in, stick with the coach, stick with the manager, the president's vision. All of them just have to take a bunker mentality. At least that's my view from the outside.
Tie a bow on this conversation. I think the unique aspect of all this, Jay Rosehill played for both you and Craig Berube. You talk about the media being ruthless. I'm sure you've seen some of Rosie's work over the last couple of years, but what have you made of your former player and the way he's thriving here in media now?
Well, when I was, how your brain works fast, right? When I was saying, man, you never know what you're going to do next, like in this game or in your life. Like you never know where it's going to take you. And to think that Jay Rosehill, who I had the great pleasure of coaching, was going to end up being a voice in the Toronto media, a loud one and a very honest one. I would have never thought it. Like, Rosie didn't say a whole lot in that dressing room until something was going down on the ice, and then he had a lot to say. And the one thing I know about Jay is like his passion for, number one, his teammates. He was a selfless guy, but the passion for the game. And the thing that I know with you, Jay, is like you don't suffer fools. You've always called it how you've seen it. And, I keep a close eye on Rosie here and how he's going. But that's how you have to be in that job. You have to have a voice. you have to have an opinion, and you have to be forceful with your opinion, because you said ruthless. I didn't say ruthless. I said the media there is competitive. And if you want to compete, then you have to have a voice, and you have to stand by what you say. And the great thing I know about Jay is it's kind of like I was saying about that bunker mentality. Rosie, you don't give an F what anybody thinks, man. Like, you're just going to go, here's my opinion, I stand by it, and that's it. And I think that's a great game plan in the business you guys are in.
Well, Dally, we sure appreciate it. And yeah, we're doing the best we can. You know the market as well as anybody, but you're in a new market overseas, and we love the way you're getting that experience in the GM role. We know you're a great hockey mind, and we appreciate your time taken with our show right here today. And hopefully things go well over there. I hope selfishly you're not one of those guys that goes over there and never comes back, because we'd love to see you on this continent again sometime soon.
Well, I appreciate that, Nick. No offense to you, but like, Rosie, like, man, you're getting better looking with age. You're going to have to get on TV more.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.